Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sis Drunk, and I'm reaching out to my Netty 109 students. Tomorrow, we are in a class session, but I thought I'll reach out early and present the material. So when we get in the class session, we can go ahead and start working on projects. So a couple of things will happen tomorrow. We will actually walk through various things on making sure everyone is set up. I sent you your Cisco NetCAD information. I sent you your Net Labs information. So tomorrow when we meet, we'll be able to walk through those particulars and make sure everyone understands it. But I thought I would send out this particular chapter. Not that I'm going to go through the whole chapter tonight. I just want to pick out a few things so you'll know where we're going, because this is a new course. I want to make sure everybody is on point with what we will be talking about. So let us begin. Networking today. What do that mean? What are we talking about? And where are we headed with this? So you know Cisco is a dynamic platform. It is one of the most powerful platforms out there. And I want to make sure you guys walk away understanding what you will get out of this particular chapter. These objectives are very important. You need to know how to explain how networks affect our daily life, explain how host and network devices are used, explain network representation. What do that mean when we talk about network topology? We want to be able to compare the characteristics of what common networks are and what are the networks today, because they truly not common. We want to be able to explain what is a LAN, what is a WAN, and how do these two network topologies interconnect. We want to be able to pick out the 4 basic requirements. And what you will notice in this industry now, you can bring your own device in, hook it up to the network, and it will work after they do a hellified screening on your device, but it will work. Identify some basic security threats, and then explain the employment opportunities in the networking field. This is important. I want you guys to really understand, hey, let's go out and get a job. Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing the school thing and let's go out there and work in the field. Trust me, we are waiting on you. So, networks affect our lives. Now, we know that communication is one of the biggest things in networking. Guess what? The whole world was shut down and we had to figure out a way to communicate. And that's when the IT departments worldwide begin to set up these interconnecting networks. So we came out with Zoom, we had GoToMeeting, all these different networks began to spring up. Some of them were here before, but we know that we rely heavily on being able to communicate with each other, because if we don't, that's dire for us. But now you'll also be able to see in the curriculum various videos that are explaining this global communication. So I want you to pay attention to those particular videos. World without boundaries, global communication, human networks. What do this mean? Now you can communicate with anybody in the world. I got students that I communicate with in Africa. I got students that I communicate with in Mexico. Anywhere you can be able to communicate with people. And we talking about on the high level. You know, 5G is finna hit, and it's hitting hard. That means we'll be able to communicate at rapid speeds that is unbelievable. Network components. You need to know what components make up a network. For instance, as you can see right here, you see a PC as a client, the cloud, and a server. This is what the world is now. We are pulling so much information from out of the cloud. And when I say the cloud, you know I'm talking about a server. somewhere around the world. You have email servers, web servers, file servers. We all use Google, and Google is just a cloud platform where you can send and receive emails. So take a look at the slide and understand that this is where we are. You know, we are expanding. Now we can talk about the disadvantages or advantages of different type of network setup. I'm not going to go too deep into this because you know that a peer-to-peer network is not anything that we would want to use. I know we have to have a discussion about it. It said it is possible to have a device be a client and a server in a peer-to-peer network. We really don't use peer-to-peer networks. It's not really a function. Even if a person was starting a small office, I would still gear them towards getting a robust network for them, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to go that way anyway. So we want them to set up properly. But you see the advantages or disadvantages of a peer-to-peer network. Let's talk about end devices. End devices are, you can see where you see the LANs on both ends. This is your desktop computer. These are your printers. These are your servers. Anything that that data will go to and people can begin to manipulate that data. These are your end devices. It says end devices is where a message originates from or where it is received. So there we go. These are your end devices. You know this. That's why I'm moving forward. So intermediate devices. This is what you will be learning. You will be learning how to set up and configure routers, wireless routers, multi-layer switches, LAN switches, firewalls. Especially if you take my network security class, you will definitely learn how to do firewalls. But an intermediate device interconnects in devices. So you have in the middle, all around the world, you have routers, robust switches that's moving data from one location to the next location. And we talking about the media. Now, whenever I say cable, you say media. When you say media, I'm going to say cable. You'll hear the term, what media are you using? And that's just basically the cable. So just remember, we got copper, fiber optic, wireless. This is how data moves. And even though we say wireless, you know that there's a cable somewhere connected to some box. Yes, indeed. Let's move on. Okay, we got network representation in the topologies. This is important. This slide you should copy out of your book and post it somewhere, because you want to know the end devices, the intermediate devices, and the network media. So you see this spread here. And just remember, at certain times, you're going to have a problem with your ports. You're going to have a problem with your NIC card. You're going to have a problem with your interfaces. And you have to know what part of this you need to troubleshoot. Yes, indeed. You need to know that. Okay, so now I often ask students when they look at a slide like this, topology diagrams. Physical topology diagram illustrates the physical location of intermediate devices and cables installation. What is a logical topology is basically a diagram that illustrates devices, ports, and the addressing schema of the network. So this is basically two type of ways we look at our network. We got the physical part. How do you know what the physical part is? You can touch and feel it. That's how you know. Just live with that. And you got the logical. The logical is just a graphic of where everything is located, far as IP addressing and ports and stuff like that. So when you have to figure it apart. Now, the logical device you cannot see. You have to go into the system and pull it up. Okay, now common types of networks that's out there. Now, we always have a discussion about the different types of common types of networks. Of course, you got the corporate network where you have businesses around the world. Just think of Microsoft, Google. These are corporate giants out there. But also you got the home network right here where you have in your house, you have a network if any of your devices are communicating with other devices. Also, you have the basic office setup and then the intermediate office setup. But just know that your job will be to go in there and make sure you can have all these devices communicating with each other. So LANs and WANs. Now, when you're thinking of LANs, local area networks, and WANs, wide area networks, always think in the sense that you making sure devices communicate, and what level are they communicating. If you take a look at this right here, you will be able to see that device that I'm pointing to right now, for instance, this is a LAN setup. This is a WAN setup. How do you know the difference? Well, professor, tell me what the difference is. Well, I know the difference because any device where you have to communicate outside of the corporation, meaning you're going to go outside of your routers, that means you're going into a WAN setup. But when you're inside of the office, as you can see, you just on a LAN setup and all the communication is there. So we're looking at network infrastructures vary greatly in terms of size, the number of users, the number and types of services, and area of responsibility. So that's all you have to really focus on when you're looking at those. So you look at this right here, basically for homes, they say DSL. It used to be that, but now we done moved in the franchise of using cabling. So you see DSL and cabling. I haven't seen anybody with DSL in a long time. Maybe some of you guys can tell me if you got DSL at home. But I started out with DSL. Well, I started out with dial-up. Don't tell nobody. But now I'm basically using cable. Once I left DSL, I'm using cable. But I also use my cell phone because I use my cell phone as a hotspot when I'm out and about working and I want to communicate and connect. I really don't use satellite. I know various people that do use it, but I don't use it for the internet. And I don't even use satellite for television or anything like that. And dial-up, a lot of people think that dial-up is dead. Dial-up is still out there and it's functioning big time. It's just not the dial-up that we were used to when we were going through it. Okay, you'll get a chance to see that. What I want you guys to do now is download Packet Tracer. Make sure when you come into class tomorrow, you have Packet Tracer on your computer because we will have a discussion about Packet Tracer. The three things that you need to have Packet Tracer, you need to be connected to Netacad, and you need to be connected to NetLabs. These are three important things, so make sure you have it. We're going to have a discussion about Packet Tracer. I'm not going to too much go into it. It's a couple of labs in there and videos in there that you can look at about Packet Tracer. I'll let you take care of that, and we'll move on. Now, reliability networks, reliable networks. Let's talk about that. This is the chart right here that makes up a reliable network. You're going to get a chance to learn about fault tolerance, scalability, quality of service, and security. So let's just do what I want to end with. But I want to start here and talk about cloud computing. Now, when we come to class tomorrow, we're going to talk about the job trends and stuff. But I'm going to stop here at cloud computing. If you do not do anything, when you complete this class, you need to take a cloud computing class. This is where everything's at. Everything is going to be in the cloud. And I know a lot of people used to argue that fact, but now today, the cloud is everything. So I'm going to stop right here. You can see it right here. You know what it is. I explain it more in the class, but cloud computing is where it's at.